Today, in this video, we're going to talk about how to master a song. So let's take a song, for example. This one's Let It Be. This method applies to any song you're learning, and this will help you to make any song sound really good, especially ones that you're struggling with or having trouble. So let's take Let It Be, for example. I'm going to play the chords to Let It Be. Okay, so that's just the intro part, and let's pretend that this is really challenging for me. This is a new piece that I'm learning and I haven't quite gotten it yet. So maybe I'm having a tough time switching between chords. Maybe the F chord is tough. So what I'll do is a few things in order to make this sound really good and get it up to the tempo that we want to play it at. The first thing I would say, definitely make sure you hold on. Definitely make sure that you know where all the chords are and that you don't have any problems changing between the chords. So let's say you have trouble going from this A minor 7 to F. What you want to do first is make sure that you're switching at the same time and putting down all your fingers. I have another video that goes into more detail about how to switch chords. But let's pretend like you know, well, let's assume that you know. Let's say that you know how to switch between the chords, but you're just not switching in time. The first thing you could do is slow down. Try to play really slow. So let's just take this A minor 7, F progression. So if you can play it slowly and correctly, then all you have to do is practice speeding that up. The best way to do this is with a metronome, my best friend. So maybe we want to play this at about 60, and maybe that's the goal, to play it at 60, but we want to start probably around 40. So we'll put the metronome on 40 and try this. Alright, so if I play it correctly, then what I'll do is I'll move up 2 or 3 beats, maybe 4 beats. Go a little bit faster and play the same thing. Now if I can play that right, and maybe I'll try to play it correctly a few times in a row. So if I can play it correctly a few times in a row, I'll do one of two things. I'll either speed up a little bit, or I'll go ahead and put it into context with the rest of the piece. Okay. So if I'm feeling good, I'll go a little bit faster. And then I'll work on just that problem spot. A minor, A minor 7, F. Now, if I play this and instead of playing it correctly, I make a mistake, I might try it again a couple times, or if I really can't get it, then I have to slow down and do it again. But if I'm playing it correctly, I'll play it maybe 2 or 3 more times and then speed up. And I'll keep speeding up like this until I get back to, or until I get to the tempo that I would like to get to, which is, in this case, 60. So once I can play it at 60, I'll make sure I'll put it into context with the rest of the song, and let's try that. So once I can do that, then I have the song, or at least that section, pretty much mastered. So this is a really good way to work, especially if you're having trouble. I know the metronome is not so easy, and I'll give you some more tips on metronome practicing later. I think it's one of the most important things you can do. But if that's tough, I understand. So my advice, if the metronome's too tough, is to start really slow and practice really, really slow. And then as you develop, the ability to play this piece at a slow tempo, then start trying the metronome. It's really important to being a really great player. Okay, my next tip, and I think the last tip that I'll say today, as far as what you need to do to master a piece, is doing the same thing every time. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's say we're learning this Let It Be chord progression, and right now what I'm doing is I'm playing 2 strums on most of these chords, which could also be, let's see, they would be either half notes or quarter notes. It depends on the time signature. Let's not worry about that. But I'm doing 2 strums per chord. Then I change it a little bit on this. Then 2 strums, 2 strums, and then I'm playing just these notes. Okay, so do the same thing every time. If I want to master this, I'm not going to play if I do it differently every time, it's going to be really hard to master it. So you want to stick to the same strumming pattern, same picking patterns, using the same fingers every time. So I'll always do this same strumming pattern 2 times, then a little bit different there, then back to my 2 times, 2 strums, 2 strums, and then okay. So the other thing here too, we call this fingering, using 2nd, 1st, 3rd finger on the G. Maybe you play the G like this sometimes too. Well, you need to make a decision. Am I going to play it like this for this song, or am I going to play it like this for this song? So I personally use both. So in this one I would need to make a decision. So let's say I want to use this. I want to use this position right here instead of this position. So I'll practice this piece. Now if I play it and I use the other one on accident, then I have to stop myself and I have to say, okay, that's wrong, let me do it again. Okay? Every time you play the wrong thing, you have to stop and do it again and fix it. So if I stop, do it again, and then make sure you do it right. Now, that's one. Now let's say the F. You could play the F like this, or you could play the F like this. Bar chord, or this way. So that's another decision you have to make. But you don't want to switch back and forth when you're learning the piece. Maybe once you've really mastered this piece, then you could make a change, and maybe you want to practice that change too, so you could maybe do it either way. But I would say when you're first learning and trying to master a piece, make a choice, one choice. Okay. So the other thing we could do is, in a song with picking, we need to know, okay, are we going to do up, down? So this one, for example, I'm playing this, single notes, and I'm using my pick, and then I'm using one of these fingers. So which finger am I using? Am I using this one, my A finger, or am I using my middle finger? Or am I switching between both? That's another decision that you want to make. So whatever you decide when you're working on mastering a piece, make a decision and stick to it every time. Maybe eventually, when you really have the piece learned, you can make some changes to it. But the quickest way to really mastering it is by making a decision and sticking to it and repeating it a bunch of times. And then you should have no problem. So just to recap, slow down if you're having trouble. There's no shame in that. It's actually a quicker way to perfecting the piece. Use the metronome. If the metronome's too hard, just slow down and try the metronome later on, because it's a really important tool. And then lastly, do the same thing every time, a bunch of times. And then you're on your way to being able to play the piece that's giving you trouble or that you want to learn like a pro and mastered.